Recording on. Hi, what's up, everyone? It's Tyler again, bringing you another weekly analysis for the second week of the year 2022. We got the 9th through the 15th this time around, and we got a couple of pairs that we're going to check over. And like last week, I said we're bringing you some more crypto, and this week we are going over Bitcoin. As you can see probably on the screen already, I have a long position that was entered yesterday, and I'm going to show you why, and then get into the next move I'm looking for after this position is closed. And then we have gold, of course, and then our 2 pound pairs for the week. So let's get right into Bitcoin, and we're actually going to start off last week. So last week, right here, price pulled into this, whoops, I was supposed to draw a tool. Price pulled into this area right here, and as soon as you start rejecting, place a sell entry. Another sell entry was placed here, and then actually got a second sell entry right here, or excuse me, a third one. The target was 42,500, which was the low of this wick right here. Obviously that was smashed, and now we're in this buy. So let me show you why we're in the buy. Delete all this stuff. So what I see here is 3 big major spikes, and that's 1 per day. So on the 6th, on the 7th, and on the 8th. So after price made this 3rd spike, what I was looking for is some sort of retracement back up to these highs, because what I see here is lots of liquidity and orders. As you can see, both times price has touched this level, it dumped from it. And overall, what I'm expecting is price to possibly continue down into the 39,000 region, which is because of this low of the wick right here. However, before we do that, as I was saying, I think we are going to get some sort of retracement, possibly back up into the mid 43,000s. Zooming back in, zooming in one more time. What we could see here is, actually, I was on the 10, I was really on the 5 minute, which I'll get into. You know what? I'll just go right to it. We're getting right into it. So I have this low mark of this spike, okay? The very bottom of that low. And I put a line right there. And what I was watching is I saw price come here, and it pushed up, and then we came back down, and we spiked just below that, and then we came back up. So once we were back up here, this exact 3 minute candle right here, what I did is I went back out. I don't want to mess up the spot, so I'm not going to go back to the 1 hour, but I went to the 1 hour, and I pretty much looked for a halfway retracement down, and I watched. Remember, this is only 3 minutes, so I was sitting in front of my computer. I was watching. Price came down here. As soon as this candle closed, this indecision closed, I entered with spread. I think my entry was like right here, and yeah, that's the reason why I entered that. As you can see, we had a squeeze, right? Price squeezed right here, popped out. Okay, now we'll go back to the 1 hour and refresh this. So we had a huge push up, and I actually took partials at this high because I thought, if for some reason my analysis is incorrect and we're not going to come all the way back up here before continuing down, the most likely spot that we're going to push from would be this level. As you can see, we have lots of liquidity in this area. So I took partials there, moved my stop loss to the entry. And then today we got a second entry, very similar. So we created this level right here when it pulled back, and then we tested it. And what happened was we came back and tapped below it, similar to the entry right here. And literally just as it started pushing back up, I pressed the enter button, and then we pushed up all the way to the highs of these wicks. And I actually closed more partials just a few minutes ago. And well, it was probably like 2 hours ago. And the entry or the stop loss is now at this entry, right? So both stop losses, this one's in profit, this one's like a couple dollars in profit. And now we're just letting it run. The reason we move the stop loss is because now we're at this area of liquidity, right? So lots of sellers right here. As we can see, the initial reaction from this area was selling, and so far we're moving, and it doesn't look like we're going to turn around soon. So whatever that position does, whether it comes back, stops me out, that's totally fine. But going on the bias of wanting to see these highs tapped, I would like to see this level either respected or spike down just slightly, kind of how we entered off of down here and down here. Either one would be fine. However, if we break this, we come back down, then we'll go from there. But for right now, this is the level that I'm looking to see price respect. Deleting this, going to the daily. As you can see, we have a huge dump, right? I mean, we dumped from 52 to 40 in a matter of just a few weeks. And as what you can see, normally when it dumps, what I'm looking at is these 2 or 3 bullish candles that come after before it continues. So, dump, pulls back up, dump, pulls back up, it pulled back up all the way to this highs, dump, right? It honestly dumped all the way down there, but if we consider that kind of like a false bottom, it dumped down here, all the way back up. Look at even right here. Every time it dumps, it pulls back. And then right here, we pulled back all the way to these highs. This would have been a really nice sell opportunity. Dump, came back, shorted here. So that's kind of what I'm looking for here. I don't expect, if price is going to give us that retracement back up here, I don't expect price to stay there that long. As you can notice, all of these candles, when they pulled back, it just pulled back with wicks, and then the following day or two, maybe it wicked again, but then it dumped and continued. So that's kind of what I'm expecting here. If we do get that push up into this area, I'm not expecting it to stay long. It's going to be a quicker entry, similar to up here, right? So obviously this is like 2 days, but it doesn't stay there long. It pushes up and comes down, and then pushes up and comes down, pushes up, down, right? You get the point of what I'm getting at here. Push up, comes down, because what it's doing is it's just going up there just to grab orders. It's not going up there to hang out and consolidate. It's just pushing up to grab the orders before it moves back down, which is exactly what I'm expecting to happen in this region right here. So we can also see the weekly VWAP. That's another reason why I took the buy right here, is because we were so underpriced for the week, plus all the things I already mentioned, that it was just a no-brainer. We had to come back up here, and we did. And what I'm really expecting is price to hit this mid-week VWAP, which is pretty much what happened here too. As you can see, we're extremely underpriced. We tapped below this level, we shot up, consolidated a little bit, came up, we entered on the midweek VWAP, and the following week started, and we got overpriced twice, 3 times, and then we dumped. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And one of the other reasons why I'm expecting price to come all the way to 43,500 is to test this midweek VWAP. Now, obviously, new week starts soon. I believe it actually starts. When does Bitcoin start? January 2. Yeah, it starts. No, I swear it's the 19th. Hour of 19. So only in let's see, 2-3 hours, the new VWAP will start. So even when that starts, I'm still expecting it to become overpriced, similar to right here, how it started. We came overpriced not only once, but twice, and barely 3 times. I'm expecting something similar to happen. So even if, we're obviously not going to push up there before this VWAP closes. However, even with the next VWAP, I'm still expecting price to come into this area before we continue down. So that's pretty much all I'm looking for with Bitcoin, is just holding these longs that currently have no risk and parcels taken out of them. And once we get up into this area, we're going to be looking to enter a short fairly quickly, right? Pretty much what I've been doing with Bitcoin is on the 5-minute. So pretty much as soon as it pushes up into this area, once it rejects, similar to like right here, I'll place the entry. So I'll show you what that looked like last week, right? So again, 5-minute time frame, right? This is where my first entry was. We pushed up. As soon as this bearish candle closed, that's when I placed my entry right there. So that's only 10 minutes, 15 minutes if you count this big one. And then same thing here. The next day, I entered as soon as this pin bar closed right here, right? 5, 10 minutes. And the third entry was, let me zoom out. Third entry was right in here. Okay, see how we pulled up. We pulled to this area. This is what I was looking at right here. These highs. Okay, because what I was expecting is we're not going to take this high out. If we're going to continue down, we won't hit above this. We're going to stay below it. So price pushed in here again, 5, 10 minutes after this pin bar closed, pressed enter. At that point, I moved the stop loss up just above this high because of the reasoning I just said. If we're going to continue down, we won't take that high out. That pretty much happens all the time, right? So right here is where we accumulate. And then from that point on, we're never going to take these highs out again. Even right here, see, we came extremely close, but we didn't take that high out. Same thing. So, oops, I didn't mean to move that. But that was just a little insight on, entering quickly and using a very small time frame for that entry. So we'll see what happens going on this week. Hopefully, so the next daily candle opens soon. Hopefully we don't get too much of a wick, because that would stop the orders out. So we'll see what happens there. But I am looking for the short position from here down to the low of this wick, which is a very solid move down, almost 4,000 pips or points, however you want to call it. Still new to the Bitcoin game as far as calculating pips and whatnot. All right, so that's Bitcoin. On to the next is gold. Gold is lovely. If you watched some of the previous videos, or if you're in the chats, you'll know that I've been calling a buy from 1784 for the longest time, like weeks, literally since pretty much since right here, because we shorted right here and I was expecting the short. Sorry, no, I'm a week behind. The shorts from right here, I was expecting this short to come below this high right, or this low right here. So I was expecting it to take out these orders and then continue up, but plans changed because this pushed up. Then we got another short right here, closed that. It started pushing, and then I looked away from the chart, and next thing you know, we're all the way down here. The next day, we're all the way down here. This was Thursday. Come Friday, we're all the way down here. Right there. Okay, this is the closeout for Thursday, so everything from here is Friday. And we had NFP Friday. So now that we're finally back down to this low and NFP is coming, what I was expecting is NFP to come out, and regardless of whatever the news results were, which they were actually, I believe they were bad for the US dollar, which would drive gold up anyway. I was expecting this low to be taken out finally, what I was expecting right here. So we got that taken out. Entry was at, honestly, I think I was watching the 1 minute. Because as you can see here, let me put this exactly where it's supposed to. So it's pretty obvious where NFP released. It started right here. This huge candle, we came up, we completely dumped. And as soon as we were under this level and price started pushing back up is when I placed my entry. I think spreads were a little bit larger, so my entry might have been 1785. Pushed up and pretty much consolidated for the rest of the day. Didn't see a lot of movement, but what I would like to note is I'm actually going back to the 5 minute. Here, let me draw this out. Make this pattern. We dip down, grab some orders, we push up. So the technicals mixed in with the fundamentals, right? And the fundamentals were bad for the US dollar, which would make gold rise. So the technicals line up for buys, because if you look at the 4 hour, we got a really nice rejection here with NFP. The following 4 hour closed bullish, and the next one stalled. Obviously, it's the end of the day, and there's a lot of movement in the market. It's not going to do anything crazy. So with that nice bullish looking 4 hour and structure, I'm looking to take this all the way up to these highs. If I go to the daily or even the weekly, I want to show you guys something. So take your eyes over here. Okay, so what happened was, first, I want you to pay attention to the overall structure of the market, not the exact moves, just the overall flow of what's going on. Price dumped heavily. It chopped around a bit. And then we moved up. Let me zoom in here. I want to show you something. See this low right here? Whoops. Got one low. We got one right there. And we got a lower one. Now, if I measure these, you can see the third low is lower than the first one. And then what happened? We sprung up. Where did we spring up to? We sprung up to the top of the dump right here. Now, what happens? 1, 2, 3. Obviously, the structure is different, but the overall concept of what's going on is the same, just on a smaller scale. As you can see, this push was huge. This was huge, right? This was big. This was big, right? So we're not on as grand of a scale, but the same sort of flow of the structure applies. And that's pretty much, what also gives me the confluence of what this is doing. Because here's that 1, 2, 3 on this time frame. 1, 2, 3. Right? Close bearish with a wick. Next day, moving up. We got 1. I'll just highlight it for you. 1, 2, 3. We actually closed bullish. So coming into this week, what I'm expecting is obviously some sort of wick, right? Most candles have a wick, but I don't expect it to break this low. Similar to what I was explaining with the Bitcoin entries, how I entered and I put the stop loss above the high because I said, if it's going to go from that level, it won't breach it. That's what's going on here. If it's going to push up, it won't breach this. Let me delete these, sorry. Oops. So going forward, what I'm looking for, really, I have 3 entries actually on this already. I pretty much did 1, 2, 3 as it was pushing up. Going into the 30-minute time frame, This is way off. Delete that actually. The structure is a little choppy. It's not super clear. However, kind of looking at the overall spec of things, I can see this low here. Okay, at 1788. And if I copy and paste that and move this up and extend it, we also have this high of this range right here. I'm going to extend this like this way. Okay, so now maybe it's a little bit easier, a little bit clearer on the eyes. So what I'm looking for is gold to possibly dip between these levels, grab some more orders, maybe throw a wick or two down, and then move up. And we might get another. If we do that, I'm going to look to enter again. I'm probably going to look to double all of my positions. So I have 3 entries. I'm going to total those lots up and then double that on the second entry, or I guess fourth, coming this week. And yeah, the target is going to be these highs up here. So it's a bit of a larger move. Oh, 1 second. I got to adjust my phone. Now I got all these green dots everywhere. So it is going to be a larger move, but I think it's possible. Obviously, I'm always going to talk about the opposite. So if pretty much if this low is breached, then we're probably not going to make that move. My stop loss on these positions are 1780 or 1781. I would have to look pretty much just below that. And I'm really not expecting price to come, lower than this high or this low right here. So it would be nice to see next week kind of just do a little dip, maybe 50 or 60 pips. And then we just see a nice move to the upside. But that's gold. We're going to move into the pound yen now. We're going to start on the weekly. Let's zoom in a little bit, huh? All right, so we have this weekly high marked. And we have the weekly low marked and the previous weekly low marked. The reason I have both of these marked is because I think we're going to get a retracement. I think we're going to get something similar to this move right here, except it's possible that instead of stalling right here and dumping, we're going to stall and then come up and make new highs. Well, I think the all-time high, yeah, it's been higher than that, but make new recent highs for higher than 2021 high, which is right here. So with that being said, we'll go to the daily. Whoops. And I'm going to mark this area right here. So this area, lots of orders. Lots of orders. And we've tapped this area and we have moved out of that area already. Now, what's interesting to me is I'm going to do in the 4-hour. Daily high, low, daily high, low. Now we have the new daily high. So this daily broke that low, and now we've been moving very correctively. What I'm expecting is price to move up slightly and make some sort of wick on the weekly level, right? Because if we look what happened here, we made a huge wick and then we moved down. We closed all the way down here. So if you entered all the way up there, I mean, that's 200 pips. You could close that out. Next week, big wick, came all the way back down. Next week, wick, down, right? So all these candles have wicks. So what I'm expecting is some sort of wick to form. Now, I don't think we're going to get something like this. It's possible, but I don't think that'll happen. I think we're going to get a wick that goes around 50% of this candle. Let's go to the 1 hour. The reason being, because we're already very corrective. We have a very, right, this structure right here is one of my favorite structures to trade, is the, I'm trying to get some room here to draw. We go like this, we break the low. That's a sign that the momentum is changing. And then we move very correctively, and we typically come up here, trick some people possibly. Maybe some people entered short and their stop losses are above this high, right? So we just come barely above that, and then we dump down. So that's what I'm expecting, is price to, now the market's open. I would like price to come up into this region right here. Okay, this area of consolidation, the low of this candle to the high of this wick. And if I want, I could extend it, and it lines up very similarly with the high of this shoulder over here. I'm just going to bring that back here though. Right there. Delete this line. So this is what I'm expecting. Now, if we throw the fib on there, I think it's already at the fib level. It is at the fib level. But we need that wick on the daily and the weekly, really, and the daily, both of them. So that's my plan of action, is once price gets in here, if we can start rejecting, then I will place my entries. However, if we get in here and continue to push up or not show that much rejection, then I will wait, because there is a chance, like way over here, that we come all the way up here. However, again, based on the structure, I don't think that'll happen, because let's look at the structure for a minute. This is not even remotely close to what is happening at the exact moment right now. We have some consolidation, and then look, we have explosive move up here, sideways, another explosive move up, and then we dumped. Explosive move up, a little bit of sideways, push down, right? Some really crazy movement. And then we get the nice pullback, and then we sell, right? And then we got this nice corrective structure, and then it just falls from there. This is a huge fall right here. So this structure is way different. Now, as I was saying, similar to, I'm not going to go back there again, but remember from the structure we were just looking at, how it was just explosive. If that happens, obviously, we're not even going to consider selling right here. We're going to wait. But if we don't get that sort of movement, and we stay slow, and we stay corrective, and we stay choppy like this, then that's going to give me a reason to look to sell in this area. That's pretty much it for pound yen. These are going to be the targets, right? So pretty good amount of pips there. Stop loss is going to be above this high, as long as we get the entry right there, 250 to 430 pips. And then if you throw the fib on, we get the structural level that hasn't been retested, 480 pips. Right, so really good short opportunity possible here. I'm just waiting for it to come up pretty much to 157.4. So 40 pips. That's all we need. All we're waiting for is 40 pips. And as long as it doesn't explode, like right here, see how it exploded up, right? And you see how these candles aren't really closing with a wick. I mean, it's very, very small. That's not what I'm looking for to enter. I'm looking for the wicks, right? Like right here, nice wicks, right? So that's what I'm gonna be waiting for. The first hour of the market has huge spreads. So this type of price action that we're seeing right here, I'm basically looking for that, but up here. And then we can look for the short. So with that being said, let's move on to the pound Aussie, which I'm expecting a very similar opportunity. So the other week, this week, actually, it was this week right here, I was expecting a short. And what I was looking for is this week to come up and wick into this high right here. And it didn't even break that week's high, and it just completely ripped to the downside. Now, I think we're going to get a similar week. See, similar to this, actually. This is a way better example. See how we pushed up, right? And we made a nice wick. And I want you to note that the high right here didn't breach that high, right? If this is the selling point, right? If that's the peak, it will never come back that high again. Obviously, until, later on in the future or something, right? But if this is where we're selling from, it will not breach that high. That's what I'm expecting with this high. I don't think we'll breach that high. I'm expecting a wick. Now, as you can see, we already have some sort of wick being formed. I'm just zooming in the time frames here. I'm expecting to pull back pretty much to the halfway point of this 4-hour candle right here. If we throw the fib on, it's actually about halfway, because halfway point would be right there. I'm really looking at the body though, because I want price to come up to this structural level right here. That's what I'm expecting. If we can just tap this level here, this is where I'm going to be looking to enter short. Target is huge, again, kind of similar to pound yen. Target is all the way down here. 300 pips. You throw the fib up from the start of this push, we have 170 pips. So I'm going to be looking to take some sort of partials at 170 pips. That's a pretty good amount of pips. And then leave the rest for the full target down here. Now, it's possible yet even that we will actually dump all the way down to these daily lows. Because last week, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for a short in this area, and I actually took short, and I got stopped out like 2 times, 2 different entries for these lows right here. So depending on what type of price action we get, it's possible that we can short all the way to these daily lows, which would probably be a 2-week cycle. So if we get the entry we're looking for, we might be holding for like 2 weeks. Obviously, there's going to be some partials taken. There might be another opportunity presented, but the huge, like the larger overall swing target is going to be pretty much the lower or mid 1.82s. It's very, very possible, because pretty much what I'm seeing here is right here, very corrective structure, right? We threw the fib on. That's why I sold right here. We spiked above the fib, sold, right? Didn't work out. If this was the move that everyone was shorting, including the banks, right? The banks want to short this. If they just exploded price up here to take out, all the stops and everything, this move is still valid. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is the move that's supposed to happen, but now we're just up here higher because the banks pushed up higher. So now this is the move that's likely to happen. And it's obvious it can. This right here was 2 weeks, that's 600 pips. This right here was, I think, like a month, that's 700 pips. This move up here, 600 pips, that's like 2 or 3 weeks, right? 500 pips, it's 3 days. So, it's not out of the ordinary to see a very large move. Obviously right here, like there's multiple entry points when it just dumps like this. There's not, this was that last week right here. Look, this was Friday 4-hour close. This was Sunday open. I was expecting it to come just a little bit up here. Dumped. So I'm looking for similar movement. I am being cautious with this because I don't want the same thing to happen this past week where I didn't get the entry because it didn't come up as high as I was expecting. So we let the first hour pass, obviously, because the spreads are freaking massive right now. They're pretty much the same as swap. After this hour, you know, this 20 pips, you know, I'd rather be in 20 pips lower than miss the move. So we'll stay patient. We'll see how this hour closes out. Same with pound yen, actually. Right. I'm pretty certain that pound yen will move up here. I'm not as what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not as like keen to entering so quick in pound yen because I do think we're gonna have the ability to come up here. But the pound Aussie, sometimes it just goes. So don't want that to happen again. So I will update for anyone in the chats. I'll update that after this hour closes. It's normally like 2 hours that the spreads take to like fully go down, but we'll see. I also want to point out the structure that we're having here. Dump, and then now it's kind of sort of corrective. So yeah, we'll see what happens on the next hour. You know, we might be entering a little early because if this move is going to go 200 to 700 pips, being in 10 or 15 pips early isn't going to be a world of difference. But now it's moving back up. So we'll just keep an eye on it. We'll see how it moves. I was just saying that because of last week. Or sorry, that was actually a few weeks ago with the pound Aussie. Yeah, that was early December. Don't want that to happen again. That's it, guys. We'll do the quick breakthrough. And then I forgot if you wanted to speak or not about the indices. But real quick, run through one more time. So we got the Bitcoin buys from down here. We broke this level, right? Pulled back, dipped again. Now we're slowly moving back up. Once we get to the mid VWAP and this level right here, see how they're kind of lining up perfectly. Then I'm going to look to short down to this low, this 39,000 region, which is because of these lows right here. Gold, we had a super nice buy during NFP. We closed bullish for the day. And what I'm looking for is price to pull back in this range right here after open at some point, grab another entry, double down everything, and hold until we reach these highs on the daily around the 1845, right? Similar to right here, how it dumped. We pulled back all the way up, right? Now we got the dump here. I'm looking for that pullback all the way up, but just on a smaller scale, right? This is a lot of chop right here. I think we're going to get a smaller scale move. Pound Aussie, I know I just broke this down, but looking to short this fairly soon, possibly tonight. Sorry, this is the pound yen. I thought I had a pound Aussie under gold. Same thing though. We're looking to short this. This one might be tomorrow. We'll see how the daily goes, but probably shorten this after today's daily candle closes. Pound Aussie, this is what we're probably possibly shorting tonight. It all depends on what happens in this area because yeah, I don't want this to happen when it just dumped without us. And it very well could. It very well could. So we'll keep that in mind and watch. That's it. Quincy, if you wanted to, I forgot if you said yes or no.
Let's get it.
All right, I'm going to pass it over to you. All right, how do I do this?
Should be working now.
It should be good.
All right. Happy Sunday, y'all. It's Team Let's Eat. Thank you for having me. Let's get it. I'm Quincy. We're going to go over some indices. Even though we're shooting from America, we're going to look at DAX real quick. Look at these German markets just to supplement the teaching moment that Tyler just provided. Now, let's look at the structure of what we have going on here, okay? Now, he was just saying that when you have a structure, just as you see here, as I'm circling this right here, the banks would set this up as an obvious sell. But the deal is we have a push up that forces us to come all the way up here to another bearish alley. And then we see the bearish behavior commence. So the deal is, even though there was an obvious sell setup here, if we just take a look at, just using our tools here, we just take a look at this transversal right here while I get my tool right there. We go. If we just take a look at this right here, this provided just enough juice to get back into this bullish alley here to challenge upward. And as we see what happened over the last few days, over the last week or so, it went back down to where most folks would have been looking for the short anyway. So if we just take a look here and get a horizontal line right here, just to look at our levels. We got a tap here, some strong taps up here. Right? And now we see something challenging this level up here, right around 16,400, 16,350 or so. And then it commenced with going back down. Now, people wanted to short here, but it looks like it was building up some liquidity before the drop happens. Now, if we kick it back a bit, go to the, let's say, a weekly. Open it up just a little bit. We still have some room to push up just a little bit before this short really happens, because it's not really, happening just yet. We still have plenty of room to bullishly build up before the decadence begins. So the way I see it, as we go back to the 4 hour, I was looking to short, probably similar to a lot of retail traders around this point of 16,000, strong bank number. No, they said, we're going to push this up just a bit more, just about 200 points or so. So 2,000 pips. So if I entered this personally, I would have gotten a little bit, would have took my partials around my TP1, but I didn't enter because my swing bias didn't solidify once I saw this type of support happening right around my yellow key level. So just trusting the structure of how I mark up my charts, I was able to safely avoid this trade, even though I could have won something, but knowing how I like to stay in trades more of an intraday to swing type of bias, I would have gotten cooked if I had stayed in for the long roll. So the way I see it, this is why we mark up our charts accordingly, so that we can keep ourselves safe while we assume these risks in the markets. Now, let's get out of that. Let's go back to America here. Let's look at Dow. Let's see if any of that is continuing over here. And the way I see it, we have something similar happening. Now, let's take a look here. We're in the daily right now. Something similar is happening here. We have some bearish intent right around this major level over here, but the deal is how we're settling here. We could push up just a little bit more before we fall again. But the way this is setting up, we have a lot of pips, a lot of points that we could potentially catch. And to be exact, the type of move that could potentially happen over the next few weeks, it's going to be massive. At least 1,000 to maybe 2,500 points, maybe even 3,000 if we're greedy. It's possible over the next few months. Excuse me. So the fact that all of this is at our disposal, we need to be very wary with price action. Let's kick it to a lower time frame. Let's go to the 4-hour. All right. Now, as we take a look at these alleys that I have set up here, it seems that we are getting ready for a nice fall. As we see, we got a decent little head and shoulders type of setup going on here. If you want to be technical, you can do like so. Probably something up in here and some type of fall afterwards, okay? Now, according to what Tyler just went over, we should expect something to climb probably somewhere up here at some point. Maybe not all the way to the 37,000 level, but somewhere close. And then we just fall for the pips. Pips, 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 and more pips. But the deal is, as we get this out of here real quick, what really matters is what type of price action is happening at certain points of the day. Now, if we're talking Dow, we got to look at the New York session for what it is. So if we just go on an arc here, right now, I have the cursor over right around where we're going to be depending on if we get some more volume. Now, if something dies down at about 7 p.m. EST, then, hey, we'll probably have a gap of some sort. But if we don't get any types of gaps, expect some of our action to be right around here. But if we get some type of gap that reveals itself within the next few hours, we should expect something up here or something down here, and then we will react for the week as the candle forms. Now let's go to a 1 hour. Okay, just to take a look at how the candles are developing. Now, the way I see it here, we have a lot of room to fall. Unless I see some type of support happen, I'm looking for more shorts right now. Somewhere in here, preferably up here. But my bias is definitely bearish. I'm waiting for the moment to strike. As I close the gate a little bit here, as you see, if we look at this point right here and we just carry it out, right now I'm looking at 34,800. This was a major level that I was calling a few weeks ago. I was really paying attention to because I thought there was a lot of telling nature that was happening right here. Now, as I carry this angle, just keep it going, I'm expecting some type of fall all the way down to this level before we really see how much volume will save the bulls or not. Now, if I take a look at my counter here, once I get my optimal trade entry, once we break this neckline after we challenge somewhere up here, the type of move I'm looking for to secure this week is going to be somewhere between 800 and 1,300 points or so. That's what I'm looking for. I want to see how it challenges around this major level right here, 35,700. If we can get below here and fail and stay below here, I'll be very confident we can look for a lot of shorts this month. But if we could stay above this level of 35,700, well, it can be as very indecisive as the NFP day looked on Friday. We didn't place any trades on Friday just because it was very, very indecisive with the price action. And to support that, let's take a look at the earnings reports that came out that really go with what I'm saying here. Now, for people that are very technical based with their strategy, they can always look at earnings reports as it relates to whatever they trade. So for Dow and other indices, I like to look at earnings reports every now and then, or especially when a lot of volatility is at play, so I can get a gauge of how my technicals could blossom or fail. And as we see here, we have a mix of good and bad in terms of earnings. So there's no wonder there was a lot of indecision when it came to the markets on NFP, okay? No wonder it was like that. Let's get back to the zoom in here.